Hi, Riley.
Hi,
How are you?
I am so good, as good as
Yes.
can be in the middle of a pandemic.
Let's talk. You always
You
have to add
know,
like that little that qualification,
because it's like it's not my normal good, but it's a
considering.
special kind of good.
Yes, a special kind of good. And you look beautiful. I was saying to you, you look giving me this Janet Jackson. I'm just like
Thank
in
you.
it,
You
in
know,
it.
little
Well,
15-minute beat.
yeah. Yes, honey.
Didn't realize we were going to be on camera. Had to do something.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. So, Riley, before we get in, because I could tell we're gonna get in. So, let me have you introduce yourself. How, with starting with your pronouns, whatever you want
Mhm.
us to know in this moment.
What's up, everybody? My name is Riley. You may also know me as Amber Riley. My pronouns are she and her. What do I want people to know?
Yeah,
I
right
don't know. I
now.
guess you're gonna find out
I guess we're
some
gonna find
more
out.
stuff.
That's okay.
I've always been very private, but I find myself being more and more open now that like my music is out
Yeah,
and sharing more. So I feel like every interview, people get to know me better and better and better. I'm like coming out of my shell.
I love that. And what was the
Yeah,
I mean, this is not the actual questions I'm gonna ask, but what was the journey of putting out it's an EP? I don't
it's an
know
EP.
music EP.
Yeah,
What was
it's
the
an
journey of
EP.
putting out the sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's cool. It's cool.
Wait, well, let me ask you this. Help me, educate me. What is the difference between an EP and an album? Because I'm gonna just call everything an album. But what's the
An
difference?
EP, an EP is kind of like a prelude to your album, like kind of letting people know like what your album's gonna sound like without doing a full album. Basically, it's like let me test the waters a little bit
Yes.
before I put out a whole entire album because albums are super expensive. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like an early kind of
It's like the
listen.
appetizer. It's the
Yeah,
appetizer.
it's
Yes.
they call it extended play. So it's a
Oh, see,
early listening.
Black folks, you're gonna learn something new all the time. Extended play. I had no idea. Yes.
Yeah.
So wait, what did it feel like to get it out? Because I've listened to it. I listened to it in the car. My husband knows that whenever I like whenever I like an album or EP, I play it on loop. I'm one of those people that I don't change. I just
That way too. I'm totally that. I can listen to the same album that I like over and
over
over.
and over and over and
Yeah.
over. So yours is one of those that like I get in the car and I put it on loop, BGE, creep
Yay.
in
I'm
this
so
moment,
glad.
all of it. So what was it like to like get it out? Like what did it feel like once you had it out?
I mean, I can say that it was like exciting because I've been wanting to do that my whole life. But I had to get through a kind of like this mental journey, emotional journey. I had to do some maturing
Mm,
and I had to open myself up a little bit more because the worst thing that you can do is put out music. Like as far as I'm concerned, especially when it comes to like if it's R&B music, if it's country, there's certain genres where you're telling a story and there has to be truth to it, right?
yes.
And because of that, I wanted to be able to be open and comfortable. And previously, I would go into the studio, and a lot of people are telling me who I am, telling me
Mm,
what my sound should be. I'm so confused because I'm like, well, that's not really that's not really me. So I'm recording it, and everybody's like, oh, it sounds amazing, and I'm just like, I don't connect to it. And I felt
yeah.
like if I'm not connecting to what it is that I'm writing, then I can't. If I'm not connecting to what it is and I'm writing, then the people that are listening to it, I feel like are going to catch on to that, and
Yeah,
they're
they're gonna
not going to
feel it.
connect to it either. So putting it out was like, hi, it's nice to meet everybody. Like
Yes.
this is me.
Yes.
That's why I self-titled it Riley. I didn't want people to be attached to what they thought they knew about me
Mm,
because of Amber Riley, which is it's me too. Like that's
right.
also me, but I feel like Riley is a deeper me. It's a deeper
Yes.
introduction to who I am, how I was raised, where I am right now in my journey, and where I've been.
What inspired, like, was there a moment that you had where you were like, oh, I want to get to know myself better and I want to share that to the world. Like, did you have like a moment where you were like, okay, like there's some work that I want to do on myself, and so there's a way that I want to define myself now. Was there like a switch, or did it just kind of naturally, organically happen?
I think there's always in our lives a couple of moments that you have where you're forced to grow.
Mm,
You're forced out of um, being comfortable or complacent if you want greatness, if you want, you know what I'm saying? So
yes.
every a lot of this is going to sound really really crazy, right? So I used to love watching like MTV's stories of artists, and they would always, or VH1's story of
Yes.
artists when they would tell their stories, right?
Absolutely. E
And
True Hollywood Story,
like,
behind the music. Yes,
yes,
I'm
all of
with you.
that.
Yes.
And the stars that I admired the most struggled so much in their lives.
Mm,
And in a weird way, and this has been like since I was like a kid, like maybe
yeah.
my teens. I used to always feel like I'm not going to be great until I struggle,
Mm,
until I have a story to tell.
yeah.
I'm not going to be great. And it's crazy because have you Five Heartbeats, which is my favorite movie,
Yeah.
and Robert Townsend, unsung hero.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
he does not
Absolutely.
get his proper due at all.
Absolutely.
Man should have been got an Oscar, but
Come
let's
on.
not even talk about that.
Right.
But
Right.
he says in that film, it's so many gems in that film every time I watch it, but it's a part where he says, he was reading a report about his writing, and everybody's always in the movie the character Donald, who was the writer for the Five Heartbeats.
Hmm.
For those who haven't seen the movie, he gets all these accolades, right, from people around him. But there was this one honest person that wrote an article about him, and the article said all these great things, and at the end it would say his writing will Donald's writing will flourish once he suffered more.
Ooh.
And
Mm.
I always felt that about my life. It's not that I wanted to suffer or struggle, but it was almost like if I don't have any obstacles, which most people have,
Hmm.
it almost feels like I can't identify with other people. It's like it's not a realness if I
Yeah.
can't get real about it. And at the end of last year, I've had my struggles. I've had things that I've gone through in my life, you know. Um, but my biggest struggle was mental health
Yeah.
issues, dealing with the depression, dealing with anxiety to the point where it was very physical, agoraphobia, like panic attacks, like. And
Yeah.
I've dealt with anxiety my whole entire life, but I've dealt with it, and I think all Black people have dealt with anxiety
Come on.
personally.
Yes.
You can't live
You
especially in the
can't live in this
US
country without it.
and
Yes.
not have anxiety and be
Yes.
Black. So I think that all Black people, deal with anxiety, but mine was physical to a point where it was handicapped. And that's when it handicaps you and it stops you from working, or it stops you from living a regular, being able to live a regular life. And that's where it gotten for me at the end of last year. So my 2020 started at the end of 2019.
Mm,
And
mm,
you
yes.
know what I mean, okay?
Yes.
And I did what I needed to do to get through that. It was about 3 months of hell for me,
Yeah.
absolute hell. Six
Yeah.
weeks of migraines, 6 7 weeks of migraines every single day, not sleeping.
Oh my
You know,
God.
so it was really hard, but it was the moment that I needed, because then I got to turn into myself and not distract myself by what this person needed and how I can help this person and this achievement. And
Hmm.
oh, I'm making people laugh. I'm making people cry. They like when I sing this. They like when I do that. Like, no, turn into yourself and let's start picking up these little ugly things
Mm.
that you need to deal with, that you're embarrassed about, or that you don't want to realize, because I've lived my whole life ignoring myself because I
Oof.
didn't think people liked me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I knew that I can entertain people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did know. People like when I sing. They may not like me, but they like when I sing.
Mm.
They may not like the way that I look, but they like when I act. I make them
Yeah.
laugh. I can be the life of the party, even though I have social anxiety.
Right.
And I just want to sit in this corner and drink.
Yeah, well, you know your tricks. You learn your tricks so that you can kind of get through the day or the moment or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And I mean, I've been thinking a lot about people pleasing, right? And like
Mm.
doing things to please people when it's not really what you want to do, which even goes back to what you were saying about your music, right? Like learning like, oh, I would listen to these things and I don't connect to it. And another artist may have put it out anyway, but having like the awareness to know, oh, this isn't me and this isn't what I want to do. And how do I stop? How do you think a person stops pleasing other people and stops ignoring themselves? Like what is, if there's like a first step to stop ignoring yourself, what do you think it is?
I think that for me, sometimes, it just depends on how people learn,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and there has to be some kind of consequence to that decision that you're making, and your body or you would wake yourself up.
Mm.
Um, I also think
Yeah.
self love, being comfortable with yourself, like that's how I learned. Like I was always able to say no to people I don't care about, like in
Uh-huh.
business. No, I'm good. No, I don't want to do that. Like, so I've always been good at that. I was not good at saying no to people that I love.
Oof.
I wasn't good at saying no to people that I admired. I wasn't good at saying no to people that I like. Because people think people pleasers are just going around saying yes to everybody and they have no backbone. That's not true
Right.
necessarily. You can still be, a confident person, but that one area is really tough. And
Yeah.
for me, that's what the people pleasing thing was, caring too much about what people thought.
Yeah.
And anxiety starts to creep in. Like I remember my first time performing after 3 months of like just not singing, and I had been in therapy, and one of the things that I learned about with anxiety are the anxious thoughts,
Yeah.
and how, and the different, filters that they can go through.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I had so many negative thoughts. I used to not understand why I got so nervous, which I thought it was nerve, but it was anxiety before I would go on stage.
Yeah.
And it was low self-esteem is also ingrained in anxiety, which I didn't know. And I remember the first time that I sang, after, learning these things, the thoughts that were going through my head, I was able to catch them
Ooh.
this time. I was
Yes.
able to catch them because it's so sneaky how they
Mm-hmm.
go in. They don't really want to listen to you sing. They're only going to be distracted by how big you are.
Mm.
They're only, you're a big black girl. They used to big black girls up there singing like that. Like, child, please don't get too haughty. Don't get.
Mm.
And I said, I literally physically out of my mouth, to the point where the guy that was helping me up the stairs was looking at me like I was crazy. I was like, nope, these thoughts are a lie. I am not a mind
Yes.
reader. I don't know what anybody is thinking out there, and I don't care. Like, I literally had to talk to myself
Yes.
to undo all of those thoughts.
Yes.
So when I got on that stage, my confidence was on 10,000. It's still one of my favorite performances that I've ever done.
Ugh. Is it
Still one of
available
my
somewhere?
favorite.
Can we see it?
Yeah,
Can
I
we
did.
find it?
It is somewhere. I definitely have it somewhere. I'll find
Okay.
it, because
Yes.
it was around. I believe it was like around my birthday. So it is somewhere. I can find it for you. But
That.
I promise you, like, it was one of my best vocals, and to the
Mm.
point where like my friends and people that see me sing often and heard me sing that song was like, "What was that?"
Ooh. What did that feel like when you conquered that, or when you had that moment of like success over it? What did that feel
Mhm.
like, getting off that stage and being like, holy shit, like this thing that has been, go ahead.
It felt like all the money I was spending in therapy wasn't a waste.
Right? Therapy is like that, where like you're in it and you're in it every week, and like you're like, what am I here for? And then suddenly something happens and you respond in a different way, and you're like, oh, that's what, okay, that's why I spent that.
Yeah, when you work with it, it works. Like
Yes.
when you put it into oh wait, oh Jesus.
Are you fine?
I'm sorry.
Are you fine?
I did put my phone on do not disturb. I don't know why it's still
girl.
It's still ringing. Hopefully they just called my assistant, Lord.
That's
sorry
right.
about that.
You're fine,
when you implement what it is that you learn and you see that it works, then it starts to feel better. But I promise you, it took months.
Yeah, for me it took like years. I remember I had when I knew therapy worked, it was like maybe 3 or 4 years into therapy. My father hasn't been around, and I like found him on Facebook, and we had like some conversation, and he responded in a very reckless way, in a very harmful way to a message I had sent. And when I tell you, I was able, yes, see, I got my gallon bottle. Look at, come on now. Hey, that gallon water.
Mine's the ghetto version though.
As long as you get that water in, honey. But I remember getting this like really scathing message back from him. And obviously it hurt, but I also remember being able to clock his trauma. I remember going through that letter and being like, okay, cool. And I was able to see his trauma and his pain. And then I was able to respond to the email or to the message with my clear boundaries, and like I was able to hold him accountable, but also like have empathy for him. And I sent it to my therapist, and my therapist cried, and that's when I knew I had like gotten that gold star, because she was like, "What?" Oh, and it's like, "Oh, right." Like I could not have handled that email or that message a couple of years ago, because I would have just reacted. I wouldn't have been able to catch the feelings, as you were talking about earlier, like being able to catch the moments, be able to like really see that this has nothing to do with me, right? Like that this is somebody else's shit, this ain't my shit, whatever it is. And that's such a beautiful moment when you can integrate that mental health into your daily practices, for those big moments and for the little moments. It's so important.
I can't wait to get like you. I'm not there yet. I'm being completely honest. I am not in the space where I can always, now I can kind of see people's triggers and traumas, but like the response part, I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
My reactions are very reactionary. Very my reactions are very like,
I got, you know, yes, gather. I'm gonna gather you. As they should be.
Like
it took years, because I'm the same, and it took years to like really be like, do I want to engage in this? And I don't think there's any wrong way to okay, wait, how do I want to say this? I think that your response is your response, but then I think it's always like, how does this affect me? Because it's less about you, the other person, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, how do I want to show up, I think is what it is. And it's like, I don't want you to have that power, is what I really got to. It's like, I could snap off on you, and and I would be completely correct to snap on you. I would be correct, but it's like, then I got to deal with that. Then it's more gook for me. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, what outcome do you want? How do you want to move forward? Because if it's if it's not moving anything forward, why do it? But like the petty in me is still like, it's still challenging, because I'm a smart ass, and I'm also very intelligent.
Yes.
You know, and I'm really smart, and I like to feel smart. I like to feel.
But look at you. You're giving me awareness. You are giving me full awareness.
I am. But that's through therapy. Like I know what it is that I need to work on. It's just a journey. Like
it's a journey.
I'm 1 year into my therapy journey. I'm so proud of myself for sticking to it. And I just know, like, when we go in, we dig a little bit more, and I'm learning. I journal and write. I journal and write the things that I know I need to work on
Yes.
within myself, to get along with other people, to make myself happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of myself for even, going to therapy and being open about it, because I think it's encouraging other people
Absolutely.
also.
There's such a stigma around it. And what I try to keep reminding people, I mean, like, I'm with you. Like, I keep saying, the old black proverb, I'm saved, but I ain't that saved. So, like, we're like, God is working on us still, if you will. So, there will be moments where you might catch me and I didn't meditate, and you're going to catch it. But for
Right.
the most part, I think that it is a journey, and mental health is so important because, as you said, to be Black in America, right? You have some kind of anxiety. Then you add just being a human, you add being a woman, you
Yeah.
add being queer, whatever it is. And so you're navigating with so much trauma. And if you're not aware of it, the trauma controls you as opposed
Yep.
to you controlling it. And so I think the mental health
Mm-hmm.
journey is so important. And I'm glad you're doing it, because it really, there's so much stigma around it, especially in our community. And it's like, I don't know. Well, how about we dream up? I love this. Like, let's muse about it. How do you think that we break that stigma in the community, in the Black community specifically, around therapy and mental health? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I've really been trying to uh think of ways, you
Yeah.
know, to help.
Hmm.
I love Kendrick Sampson so much. My friend Kendrick
Yes.
Sampson. He's an activist and actor, um, and author, I believe. I think he's coming out with a book. I hope I didn't spill the beans, but I hope.
We'll edit around it. But
But
Kendrick is great.
there's one thing that he says that I absolutely love. When we were talking about defund the police and all this kind of stuff, and abolish jails, and people, shocked from those statements.
Yeah.
And he says, "Are we really not imaginative enough, especially as creatives, to
Mm.
imagine a world and how we get there using our imagination? We can write books and we can write scripts and we can write songs. Like, can we use our imagination for the world?"
Yes.
And that statement that he made the first time that he made it, it really stuck with me, because I do use my imagination
Hmm.
creatively, but can I use my imagination for humanity?
Right.
And I really racked my brain thinking of a world, like, because mental health is very important, you know, it
Hmm.
is important to me. And in our community, it I think it has more to do with resources,
Yeah.
um, and access,
Yes.
because we can just look and say, well, Black people don't like therapy, and Black people don't, and Black people both. But when you dig a little deeper, you start to understand that it's not that they don't want, it may be that they don't know.
Hmm.
And because you don't know or you don't have access, you have to move the way that you move and live. Black people, the
Yeah.
Black experience is completely different
Yeah.
than any other race's experience here in America.
Hmm.
It's just completely different.
Yes.
So I always say every single cycle, every single generation has dealt with something different. So you went from slavery to, okay, the slaves were free and they were satisfied with being free. And then you had this new generation that comes up to say, I'm not satisfied with being free, I want equality.
Yeah.
Then from equality, you have a new generation. From the civil rights generation, you have a new generation that's saying, I don't want equality, I want equity now. And
Hmm.
every generation before is like, you asking for too much.
Ha.
You ask,
Yeah.
because they fought so hard just to not have to struggle in that anymore.
Yes.
And so mental health just doesn't seem like a big deal to our community, because it's like, we got bigger fish to fry. I don't got time to be sitting in no therapist's office crying.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. I got kids, I got bills.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They shooting in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I got to watch my kids. it's almost like, if we can just, maybe that's what it is, from me kind of going through that, if we can just get Black people to understand, and a lot of them do, because this new generation that's coming up, the Gen Z generation, they do understand mental health. They get it. But if we can get them to understand, it starts up here.
Yes.
This is the start.
Mm-hmm.
Our mind, our thought process, how we react, how we respond to our children, understanding our own triggers and knowing why we say what it is that we say and do what it is that we do. That is the start.
Yes.
To all of it.
Yeah, and understanding, you said a lot of beautiful things and made a lot of gorgeous points that I want to unpack. One being the access piece, which I think is so important to recognize, right? That like we haven't had access to it. Like growing up, it was always things that rich white people did. It wasn't for us. It wasn't for common folk. It wasn't for Black folk. It was for Carrie Bradshaw if she wanted it, right? Like, and that was like, yeah. And then like understanding that if anybody needs mental health therapy, access to it, it's Black people, it's Black folks, it's people who are being oppressed and marginalized, and the system is built against them. And how do we navigate that? Because all we're doing is surviving, you know? And I think the next step is thriving, right? This idea of equity is really about, we want to thrive. We don't just want to be here, you know, clawing tooth and nail, hoping that you don't kill our child. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to live in a world where like we belong, where we're taken care of, where we're protected. And in that process, it's like we also have to grapple with how not existing in that world impacts us. As you said, how not living in that world of equity, of true freedom, how that affects how we talk to our kids, how that affects how we talk to our siblings, how that affects what we think we can have, what we think we're worthy of, you know? I mean, I always say it's like, it is sheer luck, I think, for myself, that like I've been able to make what I've been able to make happen in my life, because it just so happened that like a teacher said you were good enough, or that I was put in the right places for that. My mother worked really hard to put me in like private school and all, she worked really hard to give me access and made a lot of sacrifices for that, that she shouldn't have had to make, right? That I should have just had. That like, because I'm here, because I'm alive, like I should have just had that access. She shouldn't have had to felt like she had to pick me out of our neighborhood, put me in another neighborhood for me to like see what was possible. I should have, you know what I'm saying? That shit is such a, it's, you know, I'm grateful for that access to know that there's more in the world, but it is still a mind fuck. And it's a mind fuck to like, on one hand, to like, I'm working this out. This is a therapy session. It's a mind fuck on one hand to like have access and be like, okay, cool, let me make a way. But then to still be aware that our people do not have access. And then you're like, well, how do I fix that? Because I'm not trying to live in a world where like I'm fine and Riley's fine and like these other people here are fine, but then as a community, we're not fine. Like that doesn't work.
Survivor's remorse.
Yeah.
Survivor's remorse. And it's the thing that you touched on. It's so funny. I started thinking about when you were talking. We Black people don't know how to be selfish. And therapy and mental health feels very selfish.
Yes, it does.
It feels very selfish. I mean, I'm not gonna say Black people don't know how to. I'm saying it's frowned upon and it's seen as being selfish.
Yeah.
It's seen as being selfish is a bad thing.
Yes. It's funny that you say that, because I've had to work really hard. Like when I have therapy planned and like there's like, you know, something else has to happen at that time. And I really have to be like, no, I'm not doing that other thing. I have therapy. And at first that used to be really, I used to feel really bad. I'd be like, try to like reschedule with my therapist, and my therapist started being like, what are you doing? Like, are you here or are you not? And my therapist is a Latin woman. So she's not Latin lesbian. She ain't playing games with me. So I was like, oh, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, Yeah, I for some reason am thinking like it's bad that I'm taking this time, and yeah, I should be doing other things. But the reality is no, is first and foremost, as you said, up here, the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you
Mm-hmm.
can't get through your day, move through your day if you aren't tackling those sneaky thoughts. Those sneaky thoughts that you aren't even aware of are holding us back. Oof.
It's the oxygen on the plane theory.
Yep. A
You know,
thousand
make sure
percent.
you have that's really hard.
Make sure you
That's
can
really
breathe
hard, but
first. Yeah.
you can't serve anybody if you don't. I learned the hard way. I can't help nobody if I don't help myself first.
Yeah.
Like I'm no good to anyone else if I don't help myself first.
Yeah.
And if I'm not happy, I'm gonna make somebody around me miserable. You
Hmm.
know, and it's a big reason why I never wanted to really get married. I never wanted to have children, like,
Yeah.
for a really long time,
Yeah.
because I was just like, I I I can't even imagine opening up and attaching myself to someone, becoming one with someone. Like, there's the scripture in the Bible, it's a punishment in the Bible, that if you killed a man in Deuteronomy, the scary part is the scary part about it.
Yeah, it
If you
is.
killed a man in if you killed a man in Deuteronomy, they would and you were caught, you murdered him, they would tie the dead body to the murderer.
Oof.
And death will always cause death. So
Mm,
eventually the person that they tied him to would die.
mm.
That's how I felt about getting into a relationship when I wasn't ready,
Oh fuck. Yeah.
or being in a relationship with someone that's not ready.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Being in a relationship with somebody who is not ready or when you're not ready is fucking useless. I learned that same lesson. Because why is it useless? It's useless because it's useless because you're not ready. But it's because of that you're not ready. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
they are serving a different purpose. You're not there for them, right? You're there
Mm-hmm.
because they make you feel comfortable, because they're distracting you from the real shit that you got to deal with, and you're not actually there for the partnership. You're not there to grow with each other. You're in a mode of taking or distracting or something else, but it's not about the partnership, which the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, if I'm gonna be in a relationship, it's not just about me, right? It's not just about you. It has to be about us. And like I always say it's a
Mm-hmm.
concentric circle, right? Like there's you, me, and there's us, and we have to know how to pour into all of those pots. But if I'm not ready, I'm never pouring into us. Maybe I'm just pouring into you. Maybe I'm just pouring into me. And all of that is unfair. All of that is
Mm-hmm.
just so, I mean, like every relationship, I mean, I've been married for almost 2 years. We've been together about 5.5 years. And it's the first relationship where the reason I was ready, let me tell you this. I was ready because I said, I ain't looking for nobody. I was like, I'm
Same,
committed to me, right?
same. It's about me. And right
Yes,
now, I don't want it.
I don't want it. I'm taking care of me, honey. That's it. I'm taking care of myself. And then here comes this man doing what he do, being his little self, and like it's like, all right, cool, let's, I'll talk to you. But then like, but also, what changed is because I was like, I ain't checking for you. I was really clear about what I wanted, what I needed, what I was going after, and it's like you're
Mm-hmm.
in or you're out. I wasn't trying to hide who I was. Do you know, like in the dating phase, a lot of times we pretend we're somebody else. Lauryn Hill on her Unplugged album talks about this, and it sticks with me, and like one of those 10-minute interludes where she's like, you try to eat
Mm-hmm.
all cute, you basically try to act like something that you're not, and then 3 months in, the
Mm-hmm.
person goes, who the fuck are you? Because like because you tired of the charades, so you can't keep up the charades no more. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you're not ready for that relationship. But when you're like, oh, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is Riley, this is what I'm looking for, you in or you
Yeah.
out, they can take you as a full person, you can take them as a full person.
I just feel like for me, I was on some big girl energy stuff. Like Big
Yes.
Girl Energy was the second song that I wrote for the EP. Temporary was the first one. Big Girl Energy was the second one. Cause I was like in this space, I got to this space where I was just like, I ain't get married. I ain't have no kids. I'm 34 years old. Like that's just not happening. I'm a date, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be
Yeah.
out here dating and
Yes.
just having fun. Like that's really where I was. Not to use anybody,
Yeah.
obviously being on the same page with the person that I'm with.
Absolutely.
But when I met Deshaun, our first conversation, he's like, "So what are you about?" And I slid in his DMs. That's what Riley was on.
Yes.
Like, you know, Riley was on some sharking type stuff. You know what I'm saying? This man, what are you about? Like, what are you know, he's on some what's your intentions? Because this is what I'm about. It's a very serious man.
Yes.
Very, very serious, very, very like, I know what it is that I want. I know what it is. You know, it's weird because he's sitting right here and I'm talking about him like he's not in the room. But he decided to stay in this room. He decided to stay.
He's saying for the conversation.
Don't act like you're not listening because you hear literally. He hears everything. Even if you don't think he's listening, he'll be in the next room and can tell me everything that I said. But no, like meeting someone that to me matched my energy. And he's so himself and such an individual.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That intrigued me. That made me feel like, And then you're a person that's making me grow. I'm a person that's making you grow. We're a mirror to each other.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we're working. Like I've never been in a relationship where I felt it was not temporary. And that's where the song Temporary came from. I keep plugging my EP. I'm really not, but that is how real that EP, those songs are.
Yes, you're connected to it. That is so true. Yeah. I would always, and I told my husband too, I was like, listen, just so you know, I do 2 months and I get bored. So at the 2 months, I'm sorry, I told you that when you were drinking the water.
You did not tell him
that. I did. I said, I get bored after 2 months. He'll tell you. What? He'll tell you. Yes. What are you about?
Who says that? Yo, 2 months in and I get bored. So what?
Wow, I've really never told anybody that.
That's hilarious, yo.
Hilarious. Yes, I literally was like, I get bored after. I was on my my self-awareness. Like I was like, I get bored after 2 months. So like, I don't really. And he was kind of like, okay, cool. Like we'll see what it is. And so I was like, all right, cool. And obviously here we are 5 years later. But it was like, but it's what I'm saying is like, it's that like, I know who I am. I know what I'm about. So I'm gonna give you that information. And if you want to rock with it, dope. If you don't, that's also fine. As opposed to what I think in previous relationships, I was willing to change whoever I was. I was willing to deny, ignore myself, if you will, to take what you said earlier. I was willing to ignore myself to fit into whatever the relationship was. And this was like the first time where I was like, I will not ignore who I am, where I'm at, what I'm about. This is it, good or bad. This is it. And either you in or you out. And his willingness to be in was like, oh, that's your person. I'm sure the same is true with Deshaun. Like his willingness to be like, what are you about? And you're like,
yeah, I was like, really taken aback. I was not expecting that.
It's different
at all.
It's different. But again, the difference is the pouring into yourself first. And putting your oxygen mask on first. When you can do that, when you can take care of yourself, then that's when you can be ready for a relationship. But if you're trying to distract from yourself, then the relationship will be temporary. Look at me plugging your album. See? Hey! Oh my goodness. Amber, I have I have like 2 more questions. One is going to be really random. And it was supposed to be the first question. It was supposed to be like the way in, but here we are. But we're having such a good time. So I was like, let's fucking gab and kiki. What's your favorite white person song?
My favorite white person song.
Yes.
Oh, took my love and took it down. Climbed a mountain, I turned around. And
Wait, who's
I
that?
saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills. Well, a landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? I love country music.
Yes.
Landslide is
Yes.
my favorite. Stevie Nicks. Ugh.
Ah,
Yes.
that was beautiful.
Yes.
Fuck
I
yes.
actually had the opportunity pass my way when I was on Glee to, on the CMAs, they were mixing a lot of like R&B and matching you with the country artists, and they had matching with Stevie Nicks. But I ended up not being able to do it because we had to film. I was devastated.
I would have been so tight. Were you tight?
I was tight. I was mad, but I actually got to meet her. She came to set, so it was really dope.
That's amazing. My favorite white person song, we were talking about it earlier. I'm not gonna sing it. I should have sang first. I should have sang first, but I can't. Do you remember Uncle Cracker? That song "Follow Me" and everything is all right. I'll be the one to. Do you know that song? No, I'll be the.
I do.
It was like. Fuck, it was like we were in middle school. We're the same age. So we were like in middle school. It was this like big white dude, and he was like, it was I think it was country too, or country-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Judith, it's a song called "Follow Me." I just remember his name was Uncle Cracker, and I thought that was hilarious that he named
Don't know
himself.
Uncle Cracker. Not hip
and
to
I think
Uncle
it was
Cracker.
with a K. I think it was with a K too. But that was one of my favorite white people songs, as well as Smash Mouth's. She had an L on her forehead. She's looking kind of.
I loved Evanescence too.
Wait, what's an Evanescence song? I remember the bottom of the music.
Wake me up inside. Wake me up inside.
Yes.
Call my name and I think her name was Skylar. If I'm not mistaken, that girl.
I remember her name.
I think her name was Skylar. Skylar. I can't think of her last name. Them and Panic at the Disco. I freaking love Panic at the Disco. So dope.
Yes. And then of
course, I could throw a little Britney in there. I like Britney Spears.
Of course. We were talking about, Judith was talking about earlier, Toxic. We all love the song Toxic. I was also,
that beat was crazy.
That video, that beat, it was sick. Also, NSYNC, NSYNC still hits for me.
Anything by NSYNC.
It's still those white boys had some soul.
Remember the Janet Jackson song they did?
No, which one?
They did. So remember MTV used to have the Icon Awards, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And she was the icon, and they did That's the Way Love Goes.
Yes.
Iconic.
I have to look it up.
Right after that, I was like, this was such a setup because Justin sang the whole song pretty much.
Of course.
And right after that, Cry Me a River came out, and that's when his solo career started.
I remember that. I watched the Janet Jackson Icon Awards for Destiny's Child, who sang what's that fucking song? Now it's escaping me. Let's wait a while. I just remember
Let's wait a while.
Yes. And she sat up in that booth.
Yeah.
Those were the jams. Okay. Let me ask you the final Black folks question, or the final question today, which is based on Deshaun. What are you about, Riley? Right now, in this moment, what would you say? What is Riley about?
So many things. Oh my God. I mean, I think I'm just about living my best life the happiest way as I possibly can. And that looks like all the things that are me. That looks like activism. That looks like being in love. That looks like taking care of myself. That looks like, being with my family, being a boss, having autonomy over my career finally.
Yes.
Putting out my own show. and
Yes.
not allowing, Hollywood to tell me that these are the only roles that I can play.
Yes.
I've said and I've been confessing for years, I'm a leading lady. I am a
Hey.
leading lady, and I'm
Yes.
going to be a leading lady. I played Effie White
Yeah, you
on
did.
I played Effie White in Dreamgirls on the West End. And when I tell you that they are the hardest critics of theater,
Oh, yes.
that was my first time being there, and I won an Olivier. And I would
God,
never be
yes.
able, without therapy, I would never be able to say that out loud because
Yeah.
I'd be so scared to sound arrogant. But it's not arrogance. It
No.
literally is. You can do it. Like,
Yes.
you've done it, so you can continue to do it. Everything that you want to conquer, you can do. So right now is conquering fears, going after what it is that I want, letting myself be happy and getting out of my own way, continuing to challenge myself to be a better person.
Yes.
And that's another thing people need to know. Like, there is no going to therapy and then all of a sudden you're like a fixed person. There'll be a
Hmm.
time where you're not in therapy anymore, but it's because you've learned all you needed to learn to cope.
Yeah.
And now you can deal with whatever challenges come, and you can go back for a tune-up if you need to. But
Yes.
you can deal with whatever challenges come. We're constantly evolving. Nobody has arrived. We'll all have flaws. We all have trauma. We all have triggers. We all have that.
Yeah.
We all have our shit. But that's really what Riley is about.
I love
Living
it.
life out loud and loving it.
Yes. Being able to be your authentic self. And, I think as
Mm-hmm.
Black people, that's the most important. We've been told what we should be, what we can be, what we can't be,
Mm-hmm.
what we can say, what we can act, what we can do, what we can't do. And so really taking your power back and saying, no, no, I get to define who I am. And this is who I am. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to share that. I'm going to tell you one last thing before I let you go, which is because it's such a beautiful moment. And I hope that it inspires anyone who's listening, which is it must be like 3 or 4 years ago, no longer, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. I was working at a job that I did not love. And I took on I got promoted. And so the promotion had me traveling around opening different fitness studios. And I was in DC, and I think it was the Glee finale. The last
Mm-hmm.
episode of Glee had come out. And you sang your final song, or Mercedes had her last song. And I remember being in bed. And I love one thing about me, I love a series finale because it's the one time where the actors and the characters are having their final moment.
Yeah.
And I just think it's such a beautiful, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, like those series finales are like, mwah. So
Yes.
it was your last song. And I remember thinking to myself, Riley is like in her element. Like, I don't know, like Riley and Mercedes like are doing what they are supposed to do, right? Like, just like when I think about this with Whitney Houston, like whenever you see Whitney Houston sing, you go, that's what she was supposed
Yep.
to do. That's like she's doing what she was put on here to do. And watching you on that TV in that hotel room sing this last song, I was like, damn, she is doing what she's supposed to do. Like the impact that she was supposed to have, I might cry, I'm not going to. The impact that she was supposed to have with this character, with this show, with her voice, with her acting, like she is in her element. And how beautiful if all of us could really live in our element and
Mm.
really share our gifts, whatever it is, whether it's singing, whether it's teaching, whatever it is. And I was like, I want that for myself. Like I was at this job I hated, and I was like, I can't stop. I can't stop because I also want to be in my element.
Mm.
And I think back to that day in that hotel room, weeping, honey, watching you and just being so inspired by you and your career and your commitment to yourself. And so to be able to have this conversation with you is such a full circle moment years later, and to talk to you about being in your element and redefining yourself and defining who you are is such a just a full circle beautiful moment for me. And I'm just so grateful to who you are and the light that you are, and your commitment to yourself, because it just inspires all of us out here that see you. So you're just You're everything. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was so beautiful.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. I really do. Because there was a moment where I was just like, Black people really don't really rock with me like that. There was
really
there was a moment.
There was a moment.
I had to call a couple of stations out. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Black too. You can invite me. I'll come. Yeah. I would love to go to that award show. Thanks. Because I'm Black.
Yes. I know. If you're around too many white people, they forget that you're Black. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, this is my job, but like, I am also Black. Like,
I am Black. I am very Black.
Extremely, since the day I was born. So
yes.
I get you.
Lord. But well, no, thank you. That was so kind of you to say. I thank you so much.
I just wanted to. I need, whenever. Let's not wait till people are gone to give them their flowers. So whenever there's something on our chest that we got to say to people, say it because it means something. And so I'm grateful for you. You mean so much to me and to so many people. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And I have to say, I peeped you at Whitney's. Whitney's. When we talked, and I was so excited to do this after meeting you, because I'm just like, he's in his element. Like, you're just in your space. And you're like, all right, very calm. But like a calm confidence, not standoffish or anything, but just this kind of calm. And I was just like, oh, I want to hang out with him. Cool.
Yes. We got a mutual friend, so we know we good peoples. Yeah.
So thank you so much for letting me be a part of your podcast.
Thank you for being a part of it. We appreciate you.